One of the most common questions I get revolves around ski purchasing. What ski should I get? I'm going out west for a few days. Is the XYZ a good ski? Something like that. So my aim with this video is to not tell you the top 5 all mountain skis to buy this year, or it's just not a review of the new skis that came out, but my goal is to hopefully arm you guys with some knowledge, provide you guys with some tools that surround the nomenclature of skis, whether that's underfoot, ski length, camber, stuff like that. So when you do go make a buying decision, or you do go to a ski shop or a ski swap, you can at least sort of talk the talk and at least have a starting point of what you're looking for. I think that there's so many different ski types and brands out there now that can be a little bit overwhelming of what to actually look for in a ski. But when you break down some of the facets of what makes a ski, it's actually pretty simple on sort of what bucket you should be in depending on what you're looking for in a ski. I hope that this starts a discussion. I hope that people in the comments can share their experience or questions to hopefully contribute to this topic. But also just know that don't take what I say as the truth. Don't take what someone else says as the truth. Sort of take bits and pieces of all of this, do your own research, and then formulate your own sort of educated decision or educated guess on what you think is gonna work best for you. My point is, everyone is right and also everyone is wrong at the same time, if that makes sense. So much of this depends on personal preference. There is really no distinct yes or no, black or white answer. And as you'll see, everything is kind of on this sliding scale that has pros and cons that start to mesh and ultimately sort of transition past each other as different variables of a ski are introduced. So let's dive into the first of 4 topics when it comes to buying or looking at a ski. I'm a very visual person when it comes to a lot of this stuff. So the first thing I want to cover is just ski length. It's seemingly one of the more obvious types of things, but it's one of the first things when you go to buy a ski or rent a pair of skis. What is the actual length that you are going to be using? Now, when we talk about ski length, if we take a ski here, ski length is measuring from the very end of each piece. The reason why I say this is because the actual effective edge of a ski that looks like this might only be here. This is the only part, this is the effective edge that is actually making contact with the snow. But when we're talking about ski length, we're talking about the total length of the ski from the tip to the tail, okay, in centimeters. Now down here is a scale. I started from about 160 centimeters to 190. Some skis go shorter, some skis go longer, but for the most part, this is where you're gonna find most of your skis. Now, I think there's really 3 things that determine what ski length you should be in. If we can only do 100% of something, I would say 70% of your ski length is just dependent on your height. You know, maybe 60%. So basically, the taller you are or the shorter you are, you're gonna have a taller or shorter ski length. The other remaining 30 to 40%, I think, depends on your weight, okay? And also your skier ability level, skier level. If you are 6 foot tall, but you're 165 pounds soaking wet, I think you could get away with a shorter ski because you're just not gonna generate as much power for the amount of height that you have. Vice versa, if you're a little bit more short and stocky, a little bit heavier, a little bit more powerful, you could potentially get away with a longer ski. Lastly, I think if you're a more advanced skier, typically you find yourself in a longer ski for the reasons we're gonna discuss here in a second. So I think when it comes to ski length, it's not as cut and dry as say I'm 5'10", 170 pounds, what ski length should I get? There's a few other things that I think determine that. I'm 5'10", and I ski for the most part on average a 185 centimeter ski. I have as high as a 188 and I have as low as a 183. So let's talk about pros and cons of a shorter and longer ski. A shorter ski, in my opinion, is gonna give you more control, okay, at slower speeds. A shorter ski is also gonna give you easier maneuverability, let's say, ability/agility, for shorter turns. Let's talk about moguls, let's talk about trees, etc., etc. A shorter ski is also gonna be lighter just because there's less ski. The negatives of a shorter ski is that you have less edge contact, right? Because that ski is just shorter, you have less actual effective edge on the snow. Kind of running parallel to that, shorter skis typically aren't as good in powder because there's just less surface area overall, right? You just have less ski. Now, going on the other end to a longer ski here, it's essentially all the opposite. A longer ski is gonna give you more control at higher speeds. You know, think of something like a longboard versus a small penny board. You hear about speed wobbles and stuff like that. A longer skateboard has more stability when you're going faster. You also have more edge grip because you just have more ski that's hitting the snow. Even if a ski is more or less rocker, a longer ski just has more contact points. So you have more edge grip. But some of the negatives is that longer skis are heavier. They're a bit less agile for the most part. Now you can see as this scale gets moved, right, from one end to the other, these positive and negatives start to sort of mesh and transition the other way. So in my opinion, and this is a controversial take, I'll say, a longer ski tends to be better, in my opinion. I think if you are in between and you're an intermediate advanced skier, I would err on the longer side of ski. I think once you get used to it, which you'd be surprised how quickly you do get used to a longer ski, you can just about do everything you can do with a shorter ski, except you have the benefits of more control, more stability that you get with a longer ski. When I was in Canada skiing with a guy named Carter McMillan who used to ski on the Freeride World Tour, I think he was about 5'8" and he had a 192 centimeter ski. And I remember saying, wow, man, you're shorter than I am and you have a longer ski. And he said, dude, to be honest, for skiing big mountain stuff, hitting large cliffs and stuff like that, having a longer ski just inherently makes it so I stay on my feet more. If I have a shorter ski, I'm more apt to sort of come out the back of it, come out over the front of it, but having that larger platform, when he does a big cliff drop or something and he lands, he just has more leverage to keep him upright. Even if his body is going down, the skis, it's harder for them to actually get knocked out from underneath him, if that makes sense. So I think most people are gonna be in this 175, 177 range. But again, as you get better, or if you want more control at higher speeds, if you want a bit more flow in powder, you could start to edge yourself more towards a bigger ski. If you wanna go the other way, you're a park skier, let's say, park skiers typically want a shorter ski. It's easier to pull up and grab, it's easier to spin around, right? If you're a mogul skier, stuff like that, you need something where you need to be able to maneuver easily. You really love skiing trees, let's say, you could kind of go the other way and go even shorter. So again, there's pros and cons to each, just depending on what you're at. But just kind of using your height as a good starting point for where you should be. I would say most average males who are 5'7", 5'8", 5'9", whatever, are gonna be kind of in this 175 range, 170 to 180 for a pair of skis. Next part of skis that we're gonna talk about, and arguably in my opinion, the most important indicator when discussing what a ski is actually used for, is the underfoot, or the side cut, or the ski width. There's a few different sort of terms that refer to the same thing. Most of the time when you see this number, let's say the Armada ARV 106 or the Ben Chetler 100, what that number is referring to is the width in millimeters of the underfoot part of the ski. So if this is our ski here, and again, this is gonna be very, kind of looks like a chromosome. This is your tip. Okay, this is your waist, or kind of where the binding is, and this is your tail. That number, the ARV 106, Ben Chetler 100, is referring to the width of this part of the ski, 106. When someone refers to the side cut, that's the total measurement from the tip to the waist to the tail. So a lot of times I think my JJ is like a 137 millimeter at the tip, 116 underneath the foot, and like a 135 in the tail. But the reason why the underfoot is important is that it determines what the ski is really designated for. Down here, I have another scale from 80 millimeters under the foot to 120 underneath the foot. 100's in the middle. Now again, there's skis that are even more narrow and there's skis that are more wide. But for the most part, for most consumers, for most average resort skiers, you're gonna find yourself somewhere in this range of skis. Now to keep this incredibly simple, because it really is this simple, 80 millimeters or the smaller the underfoot, I'm literally gonna say groomers, okay? And for the bigger underfoot, 120, I'm gonna say powder. That's really as simple as it is. To further this, let's say on-piste, so meaning designated trails, quite literally groomers. You know, a bigger ski, you could say off-piste, something that's not groomed, something that's at the top of the mountain, things like that. Okay, we could further this and say hard pack. Okay, we could say ice. And I'm gonna say this one more time, powder. Okay, that's literally as simple as underfoot needs to be. The wider the ski, okay, you have more, so increased surface area. You have increased flotation. Quite simple physics, you just have more surface area to hold you on top of the snow. Think of trying to tread through deep snow with a boot on compared to having a snowshoe on. It is the same exact principle. Okay, 80 millers here, we have smaller surface area. Okay, we have less flotation. But that's not necessarily a good thing, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Okay, let's further this discussion a bit more. Because you have more surface area, it's harder, so let's just say down, to create edge pressure. Okay, because you have less surface area, it's easier to create edge pressure. Okay, so hopefully you guys can kind of see where this is going. That's why all race skis, all competitive type skis, you know, other than park and stuff and big mountain stuff, but race skis, slalom, all that stuff, these are your racers. They might even use stuff that's less than 80 millimeters. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. Mogul skis, I think, are 70 millimeters underneath the foot, where this stuff is gonna be more for big mountain, right? So 100 millimeters is in the middle. I would say this is like your all mountain number right here. Now, I'm speaking for a bit more for out west type skiing. I'm gonna further this with a 90 millimeter right in here. I would say something like this tends to be your park ski. You know, I know this goes the other way. This goes to 84, I would say. Even 80 you could use in the park. Again, you want a smaller, more nimble, light ski. And this could also go the other way, all the way up to something like a 97 would be a good park ski, but also a ski that could relate into all mountain and you can charge around in the mountain. So kind of a little bit do it all. I used to be on a 97 for many years. Now when we get into this way, you have all mountain up into, you know, the powder range. Let's put 110 here. I would say this range right here, this 100 to 110, is sort of like the holy grail, let's say. A lot of people search for that one ski quiver. A lot of people search for the perfect ski that they can use in any sort of condition. I think this is the sweet spot for that. It's narrow enough to kind of rip around on groomers, right? On piste, utilize the edge in hard pack and ice, but still wide enough to kind of get some benefits in powder, give you that flotation, stuff like that. So that's why a 106, a 108, a 104 tends to be a good underfoot for a one ski sort of choice. I ski a 116 more than anything really, right here, 116. So you can see where this is leaning towards. This leans right off to powder, off piste, stuff like that, maximum flotation. So if you're looking for a designated powder ski, I recommend something in the 110 to 120 range. So there's tons of debate as to like kind of what is the best underfoot. I would say if you are a newer skier, a shorter and more narrow ski is just gonna be easier to learn on. It's gonna be easier to get a feel for the ski. As you progress and you advance and you start to get into bigger mountain stuff, a longer and wider ski is gonna give you more stability in the platform. And because you're more experienced, you're gonna be able to create the edge pressure and edge contact more, even though it's a wider ski. So really the only thing, if you take anything away from this underfoot discussion, is that the wider the ski, powder, okay? The more narrow the ski, groomers. And that's because of the surface area and because of the edge pressure, edge contact, and effective edge that you can actually put on the snow. A wider ski is just harder to get it up over the edge, where a more narrow ski, there's just less to actually navigate and get actual pressure on it. So again, I think that 100 is a good one ski sort of width if you're coming out west or you're just doing a ski trip and you just want to get a pair of skis that kind of does it all. I think this 100 is a good 100 to 110 is a good range for that. I think dedicated powder skis are when you get up over 110 to 120. But it really is quite simple. The wider ski is just meant more for powder, and the more narrow ski is meant more for being on groomers and hard pack conditions. In my opinion, the ski length and waist width are really the two most important things. If you're completely new, I wouldn't worry too much more about ski camber and rocker profile until you just understand the basics of skiing, and then you can sort of take the next step into a little bit more ski geometry. But the next thing, ski camber and rocker, are really what make a ski perform the way it does and make it especially good for different conditions. We're gonna start with ski camber and then talk about rocker independently, and then we need to talk about how they work together because they're actually negatively correlated for the most part. Ski camber is the arch in the ski that you see when they're not weighted. So a lot of times a ski, let's see if I can draw this, will have a little bit of rocker, okay? So the tip and tail, and then it kind of goes up, right? Here's the tail. This is an exaggerated version, but a ski typically looks something like that. This distance here, this is called camber. This is positive camber in the ski. Now, the reason why I bring that up is because you also have flat camber, or we'll say, you know, zero camber. Well, you have a lot of rocker, the ski is flat, rocker again. Rocker, the ski is flat. Okay, so these are two examples. So here, there's no camber. These are two extreme examples of flat camber. Okay, so this is flat, 0. Full camber is 1. Nowadays, all skis have some semblance of positive camber. It just kind of depends on which, you know, the amount that you'll see. I will say, let's just use the number 1, okay, to 0, arbitrary numbers, but somehow quantifying the amount of camber we have here. Your 1 or your full positive camber, I'm gonna go with a race ski. If you've ever seen a proper World Cup race ski, it has essentially no rocker. I mean, a very, very small amount of rocker, but a ton of camber. Now, the reason why that is because once you weight the ski, see how this is gapped like this? When you weight the ski, you get maximum edge contact. It's the same exact theory as camber with a car tire, if anyone knows anything about that. When you camber a car tire, you're actually leaning it, and then when that tire is weighted from the G-forces of a corner, the tire actually stands up and you have more surface area. It's the same exact theory with skis here. Right now we have no surface area, but as soon as we weight the ski and actually create pressure, you're now maximizing the amount of edge that is pressuring the snow. So you get more edge control, more grip, all that sort of stuff. So that's why race skis have a ton of camber. Now, a flat ski with no camber is gonna be a full powder ski. You don't see many of these that much anymore because it's so unrealistic to use on a mountain because you gotta be able to ski around the mountain. So full powder ski. But the reason why this is popular is because when you're skiing powder, the technique is entirely different to where you're not putting as much power and edge on the ski when you're skiing groomers. So because you're not putting as much pressure, you're already having as much edge as you can on the snow and the powder, if that makes sense. So a lot of times you'll see, like my ARG, my 133s have literally no camber in them because it's a full powder ski. So more positive camber, more grip. This will do better on hard pack. This will do better on groomers. This will do way better on ice, okay? This will do way better in POW. This will do way better in deep snow. And the other thing, the other kicker with this is that when you have flat camber, you have the ability to have more rocker, okay? When you have a ton of camber, you don't have the ability to have as much rocker. Think of it this way. We'll talk about rocker in a second. If you had a ton of camber, but you also want a ton of rocker, okay, rocker would have to be something like this. You'd have to have a ton of camber and then a ton of rocker again. Ton of rocker, ton of camber, ton of rocker. You don't see skis like this. It's not really possible. But with this ski that I made, you can have a ton of rocker, no camber, and a ton of rocker again. So that's kind of the pros and cons of having a ski with a lot of camber or flat camber. But as I mentioned, there's really a negative correlation, okay, between the amount of camber and the amount of rocker. So let's talk about rocker. Again, here's our scale. 0 is no rocker, 1 is full rocker. Full rocker, again, is gonna look like any sort of POW ski. The tips and tails are really far apart, okay? This right here is technically the rocker. This is the zone of the rocker. This can vary, this can change. The center of where the rocker starts can change. Okay, tip and tail rocker can be different. No rocker is gonna be, you know, quite literally like a race ski. This actually is probably too much rocker in it. It's where the tips and tails are essentially together. There's always a little bit of rocker in the tip. This would be the rocker here. So this is kind of what no rocker looks like. This is what a full rocker ski looks like. If you have no rocker, you have very little float in deep snow, okay? but you have a lot higher effective edge. Remember the effective edge we talked about at the beginning? Because just more ski is on the ground. But with full rocker, you have maximum float in deep snow, but you have a lot less of an effective edge because more ski, look, more ski is in the air. Another thing with less effective edge, right? You have less grip. And another thing that people might see a lot is increased chatter with more rocker. So with my 1/16s, for example, when I go to ski groomers, because there's those skis, the tips and tails just aren't even hitting the ground, they're talking, they're chattering up and down. Where if you have a proper carver ski that doesn't have a lot of rocker, that ski is much more rigid, it's much more planted. So a lot of people will refer to the chatter when trying to use a powder ski on groomers and stuff like that. But with no rocker, you have, again, more grip because you have more effective edge. See how everything is kind of, they all have a relationship with each other. They all kind of operate in one way off another feature, right? And decrease chatter. But another thing you could add in here, because you have less effective edge, it's also easier to transfer edges. You have less edge on the ground that you have to get to the other side. So in a way, it's almost easier to transfer the edge when a ski has more rocker. Where you have more rocker, it's actually harder to transfer the edge. So that's why you can start to see that there's no one answer that fits all. There's no yes or no black and white answer. And again, of course, everything is on a scale. It's very rare that you would use a ski that has full rocker, and it's also very rare that you would use a ski that has no rocker. Most skis nowadays, are gonna fall in this middle range. Most of my skis, and we'll get into this in a little bit, are in this area. They have a good amount of rocker to almost full rocker. I rarely have skis that don't have any rocker. If you're someone who never skis powder, if you're someone who just loves skiing groomers, you find yourself in hard pack conditions all the time, your mountain just doesn't get a lot of snow, you're gonna be better off with a ski that has little rocker. Maybe just rocker in the tip, right? Maybe you don't need tip and tail rocker. If you're someone, you ski in Little Cottonwood Canyon all the time, you're just skiing 10, 12-inch storms, you're gonna want something with a lot of rocker. So again, the whole goal is, can you find a ski that kind of fits in this middle part, right? This is the holy grail. Can you find a ski that has good rocker to get you through the pow in the deep snow, but also not make it so you have so much chatter and no grip for when you just want to ski groomers. So again, you can break this down into very simple situations. Full rocker, okay? Powder. No rocker, groomer. Okay, we can even go back to the camber real quick. Full camber, groomer. Flat or no camber, powder. It's easier if I just show you two very distinct examples. So right here, this is a Fisher gun barrel. This is one of the World Cup mogul skis that guys are using now. You can see this ski here, okay? Look how much camber it has right here. Let's see if I want to squeeze it together. But you guys can see the arch here, okay? This is the camber that you see, and look at how little rocker it has. See how the rocker technically doesn't start until right here, just a little bit of tip rocker. And if I flip this upside down, I know there's a little ski holder, but there's almost no tail rocker. There really isn't any tail rocker. This is a 62 underfoot ski. Now, keep that picture in your head compared to this. This is a ski with zero camber in it. See how there's no gap? If I try to put these side by side, look at the difference. Okay, big gap, no gap. Now also look at the difference in the rocker profile. Look at how soon the skis start to splay apart, just in front of the toe piece. This whole bit is the rocker. This does not have any contact with the snow, where look at where this rocker starts, just this little bit at the top. So once this ski is weighted, okay, as soon as you start to put pressure on it, you have this whole edge there. This ski, when you weight it, you're not getting any additional traction, any additional grip, okay? But also look at the rocker in the tail. I mean, the rocker, again, starts right behind the heel piece. So for powder, this ski has so much just natural flotation. It makes skiing powder easy. If you were to take this ski and try to go ski powder, I mean, it'd be fun to see what happens, but I would be damned to think you could even do it at 65 underfoot compared to 133 underfoot. These are two totally different skis, but I think it really does a good job of showing the differences of rocker profile versus camber and the relationship between the two. Let's look at a graph of rocker versus camber, okay? If you don't know what negatively correlated means, it means when one increases, the other one decreases. So as rocker increases, okay, increase rocker, your camber is gonna decrease. As camber increases, the amount of rocker you can have in the ski decreases, okay? That's the relationship between the two, and it's important to understand so you can see why powder skis are the way that they are, why race skis and groomer skis are the way that they are. On the y-axis here is the amount of rocker, on the x-axis here is camber type. Here is our 0 point, 1 is the maximum. 1 camber is gonna be positive, okay? This is gonna be your race skis. This is gonna be your groomer skis. 0 camber is gonna be flat. This is gonna be powder skis. Amount of rocker, 1 is gonna be full rocker. Again, powder skis, think powder. 0 is gonna be no rocker. This is gonna be your groomers, your race skis, okay? We're gonna do 4 situations. Let's start with a ski that has full rocker, okay? We're gonna use my Armada ARGs, let's say, and no camber. So we're 0 on camber, we're full on rocker. Just to make this so you guys can see, we're gonna put the dot here. I know the dot should really be like right here, technically, but let's just put it here to keep this simple. This is going to be powder only, okay? Don't get a ski that has no camber and full rocker and expect it to be good on groomers. It's not gonna happen, okay? This is off-piste, okay? Ungroomed. And if I hadn't said it originally, powder, okay? That's what this is. Let's move down a little bit. Let's say a ski has tip and tail rocker, which a lot of skis now have tip and tail rocker. Every one of my skis has full tip and tail rocker, okay? So we're gonna start here at 0.75, but oftentimes, those skis also have positive camber, albeit not a ton, but they have enough. Let's say those skis have 0.3 amount of camber. So we're gonna put that right here. This ski is still ideal for powder because it doesn't have as much edge contact, but it still has some. You still are getting some benefits from the camber. Because you have the camber, you're able to ski around the mountain. But again, the emphasis of this is still powder. You can kind of see the trajectory here, okay? So we were just in full powder. Now we're still at an all mountain ski with the emphasis of powder. Now let's go down to the next level here. And again, these are all arbitrary, but let's say just tip rocker. Another common thing, not all skis have rocker in the tail, just in the tip. So we have 0.25, and because of that, they typically have a lot more camber on the actual effective side cut area of the ski. Let's say, let's just 0.75 square it here. So let's put this one, screw it. Let's go 0.35 for where this is gonna lie, 0.75. This is going to be more of an all mountain, okay? With the emphasis of groomers, okay? Carving, why? Because we have a lot more camber. But why is it still an all mountain ski? Because we still have some rocker in the tip. And what does rocker in the tip do? It helps gives us flotation. But because that rocker isn't taking up the entire side cut of the ski, we have the ability to add more camber. So I would say a lot of people, if you find yourself, you don't ski switch a lot, if you just kind of want a ski that's a little bit more focused on all mountain, but you can also go rip around the mountain, really lay down some carves. A lot of people should kind of be in this quadrant here. You know, have good rocker, but also have mostly a lot of camber in the ski as well. Very few people are gonna find themselves up here for a daily driver. Okay, these are your JJs, these are your white walkers, okay? Lastly, what if we have a ski that has tons of camber, 1 camber, but virtually 0 rocker? Again, this would sit here, but just so you guys can see, we're gonna put it right here. Now look at the difference here. This is gonna be groomers only. This is your race skis. This is your ice, okay? I'm gonna say it. This is your hard pack, okay? On piste. And if I haven't said it again, groomers, okay? So now right here, you can literally see the negative correlation, whether this is a linear line or whatever you want to call it. But as the rocker is increasing, right, you can see it here, camber is decreasing and vice versa. As camber increases, the rocker of the ski decreases. It's very rare to find a ski with a ton of camber and a ton of rocker. It just isn't really possible. I truly hope this video was helpful for you, and like I said at the beginning, this was not meant to tell you guys what skis to buy, but merely just equip you with some more skills to help make the best decision for yourself in the future. The best way to really get a feel for what you like and what you enjoy is demo and try out skis. Almost any ski shop allows you to demo skis for the day. Sometimes resorts even have demo days where a ski manufacturer or multiple manufacturers will show up at the base and you just pay a one-time fee and can kind of cycle through skis all day long. So if you're not really sure what you're looking for, that's honestly the best way to sort of get an understanding for different skis and the features, flex patterns, and stuff like that. So anyways, let me know what you guys saw of the video if you found it helpful. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Take it easy, fam. Get stoked for ski season. Peace out.